thought we were doing the right thing in 2016. But it's clear this isn't the America we voted for. We made a mistake. So it's time to own up, to be the men our dads raised us to be, and the fathers our sons need us to be. Because they're watching us the way we watched our dad. It's our turn to set the example. Vote for change. Vote for our sons. Vote for Joe.
That is part of a new ad highlighting Trump and Biden's competing visions for America, as well as the bonds between a father and a son. Joe Biden has made his family's ups and downs and tragedies one of the centerpieces of his public life, using his own personal tragedies to relate to others who are suffering unimaginable losses. To that end, that ad from our friends at the Lincoln Project targets men, asks the ones who voted for Trump last time to reject Trump's corrosive brand of politics this time. We should point out they have an equally powerful one targeted at moms and their daughters in a better world for all of our daughters. While Trump signals tonight that he'll continue what he started at the first debate, which is an effort to smear Hunter Biden in harsh personal terms. Joining us now, MSNBC contributor and editor-at-large for The Bulwark, Charlie Sykes is here, and Basil, Smikle, Democratic strategist and former executive director of the New York State Democratic Party. Basil, what do you make, not of the substance, because I think a lot of the substance is murky, but of the strategy? I think that's out in the open. Donald Trump thinks it's a winner to launch harsh personal attacks against Hunter Biden.
Well, that's why that ad is so important, because it addresses this need to promote and, as you said earlier, weaponize hypermasculinity. You see that in his speeches. You hear that in his speeches. You see that at his rallies. And in many ways, it does drive wedges within families. Certainly, and it's an intergenerational wedge, because you hear so many young people talk about, how they just don't understand their parents and the decisions that they're making around this election. So it's a great way to sort of tie in family and sort of go back to some of the themes of empathy that Joe Biden has struck so many times. And I think it also pairs well with the Barack Obama speech that we just heard and the clips that you just showed, in that I think in many ways Obama's speech was targeted to young people as well, to say, look, let's bring this coalition back together. Remember that time when you took your parents to go vote for me? Like, I need you to be out there again and try to convince some of these folks that did go vote for Donald Trump to make a different decision this time. So I think the Trump strategy is a failing one for the few voters who haven't made their decision already. And as long as Joe Biden continues on with a concise and cogent message with these ads that are so powerful, I think he wins the day.
Charlie, for you, I want to ask sort of a structural strategic question, and then I want to show you what Cindy McCain had to say, because she seems to be in on this effort too, to pull from the Trump column to kind of swell the Biden lead, Biden ahead in every national poll and just about every battleground. But here's the strategic question. Trump's imperative, there are very few undecided voters, so what Trump has to do is take some Biden vote. It's a very different kind of appeal, and I wonder if you think that in any universe that winds its way, if you're trying to take someone who right now is choosing Biden, do you get them by smearing Biden's surviving son?
No, a lot of this is an expression of the bubble that Donald Trump has created for himself.
Yeah.
But to this point about masculinity, look, empathy is manly. Being willing to admit you were wrong is manly. Being a loving father is manly. And I think it's good to take that back, because I think one of the difficulties of this era is raising young men in the era of Trump and saying that's not what a man is. But to your other point here, going after...
Wait, no, stay on that point. You just made me cry. Say more.
Well, I mean, I think this is this strutting bully image. I think Basil used the term the hyper masculinity, that image of cruelty, of never admitting you're in error. That's not what being a man is all about. A man is about integrity. It's about being a good father. It's about being responsible. It's about being willing to apologize. All of those things. And it's interesting, how in Trump world, the relationship that Vice President Biden has with his sons is seen somehow as a weakness, as a vulnerability. And I think to a lot of people, they look at that and they go, no, that's a sign of strength. We all wish we had a father like that, and those of us that are fathers, wish that we were like that and had that relationship with our sons. And I think that's really important, and I think that's going to be one of the sub-themes tonight as he lashes out at Joe Biden's son in a way that quite frankly, I think a lot of people who are not immersed in conservative media, they could think, what is he talking about?
Yeah.
A lot of it is you have to watch Fox News 24/7 to understand all the codes and all of the conspiracy theories and everything. And he's going to be throwing this stuff up against the wall, and people are going to say, why aren't you talking about healthcare? Why aren't you talking about the economy? Why are you talking about your own grievances rather than the issues facing the country? And I think Joe Biden stands there and says, look, I love my son. My son has had difficult times. I'm going to stand by my son. And I think what you're seeing here is an expression of a president who feels that the only way that he can be reelected is to attack my family. And I really honestly cannot see how that changes the dynamic of this campaign.
I mean, Basil, there's so much so many threads to pull even further. One is that some of the material allegedly taken off that hard drive contained text messages between Joe and Hunter Biden that enhance your view of Joe Biden as a man. I mean, I don't know how many of us could have material hacked from our devices or our computers and look better for having that had occurred. But Joe Biden is among those expressing love. Here's the other thing. Voters are smart, and the Trump it's sort of in the category of the audacity of the Trumps. Like, Don Jr. is in the Mueller report as someone who took the fifth, who didn't cooperate. Eric Jr., or Eric, is in front of the New York State AG on a fraud investigation around Trump org. Ivanka's got gazillion trademarks from China and is sort of a walking Hatch Act violation, lied about her background check for herself. And Jared Kushner, we've learned recently that John Kelly and Don McGahn didn't think they were worthy of knowing or hearing about this country's most sensitive state secret. So Trump really wants to fight about kids?
Yeah, I know. That's why when you talked about talked about that voter Ruthie in the last segment, saying that he reminded her of a crackhead. I said that crackheads actually have an addiction problem that we need to fix. Donald Trump is borderline as a crime family. That's intentional. And you have a state attorney general, a state's attorney general that are going after his family, and voters are keenly aware of this. They know that there may be peril for this president after he leaves office. And the question is, do you want that continuing to swirl around in the same way that Donald Trump continues to push the Hillary Clinton buttons and all these other buttons that he thinks is taking his candidacy somewhere? I think voters are looking at him in the same way. Do we really want to continue this kind of conversation for another 4 years? And I'll just say this very quickly: as you're playing clips of Barack Obama, when was the last time that you sat silent and listened to the president? And I was just reminded of that. As you're playing the clip from Barack Obama. And I said, man, how many of us have really been able to do that with this president and feel good and confident about the direction that our country is going in? And I think more and more voters, have made up their minds about that.
I mean, to that end, I've got one more for you, Basil. This point about manliness is so important. I've never heard anyone lay it out the way you two have, and so I don't want to let it go. The most manly thing to do is to protect. The most obvious and colossal and deadly failure that's on Trump right now is the failure and the refusal to even try to protect his family, his advisor, Chris Christie, his campaign manager, Bill Stepien, his former aide, Kellyanne Conway, his comms director, Hope Hicks, his military aides, his resident staff, his flight attendants, his pilots on Marine One, his pilots on Air Force One, and his own goddamn supporters. What on earth do you say as a president who refused to even try to protect the country as a pandemic raged across this country?
Well, as President of the United States, the only thing he could say is the one thing he won't say, which is that I'm sorry and I'll do better. He'll never say that. And in that moment when he's getting into the car and those Secret Service agents are there, I thought about them the most, because these are individuals that are so loyal to their duty and to their country that may not ever say anything about that moment, but you have an understanding of the jeopardy that they were in because this president just refused to listen to science and he wanted to do his own thing to appease his supporters. That actually hit me really hard, having known, and as you know, so many Secret Service agents. And I don't think there's anything that he can say, but as voters, we can say everything on election day, and 50 million already have.
Basil Smikle and Charlie Sykes, you guys just filled me up today. Thank you so much. Charlie's staying with us. Up next, Trump ally Chris Christie, as we've been saying.